Hello YouTube. What you have just heard is a piece I composed for this video. It demonstrates how a song can progress through chords. Just as we learned in our scales, chords also have the ability to build up and release tension. Before we can get into understanding how to build these progression of chords, we must learn basic points of rest and tension. Examine the diagram on the screen. This is called the circle of fifths. Just as the name suggests, we can pick any key on the piano, then move up an interval of 5. The key we land on will be a chord of tension, and our home key, or the key we began on before we counted up 5, is our resolution point. So if we began on C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. G would be our 5th note. Let's hear how our tension chord G resolves down to C. Pay attention to how comfortable C sounds in our ear after G. Can you figure out why this tension disappears at C? I think you can. Remember from our previous video, we learned about the flow of notes in a scale. Let's take a look at the G major chord. We have the notes G, B, and D. If we take a look at our diagram for the scale, we can recall that B resolves to C. Additionally, D moves to our 2 resolution points, C and E, so we have 2 tension notes from our chord, B and D. With these tension notes moved, our ears can relax. Before we can continue along in the circle of fifths, we must be familiar with our major scale formula. Because we moved to G on the circle of fifths, this means we're counting in G major now. Knowing this, we must proceed with caution and pay attention to our steps. Let's count up from G 5 keys and see where we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We end up on the D chord. Similar to when we counted up from C, the circle of fifths shows us that when we play in G major, the D chord is our tension chord. What does a tension chord really mean on the circle of fifths? Let's examine our scale degree diagram from the previous videos. Here we can see what degree is major and what degree is minor. We know by moving at a certain point in the scale, we may create tensions. So other chords other than our fifths should create tensions as well, right? The 5th chord has a special name in music. It is referred to as the dominant chord. That is because the dominant chord has more force than other chords in our scale. Playing from the dominant chord in a key and then proceeding with the chord on the 1st degree in our scale is like putting a period at the end of a sentence. Remember that short example we heard in the beginning of the video? Let's listen to that again. This time, I will display the chords being played throughout the song. You don't need to be concerned about all of the chords, just pay attention when we play our G chord, our dominant chord, then move down to our C chord, our home key, the 1st chord in our scale. Did you hear how the movement from G to C finished the short song? It is just as if the chords in the song are words, and when we move from our dominant chord, G, to C, we are putting a period at the end of our sentence. I'll introduce one more word to you in this video, and that is the cadence. This period, or movement from our dominant chord to the first chord in our scale, is called a cadence. There exists other cadences in music, and we will discuss these in future videos.